Hello class, welcome to StudyWeb Academy, where education is without limits. Welcome to our English class, welcome to grade 9, and today we're going to be learning more about this English and what English entails. So welcome to our English class of today, and our main focus is going to be a very essential topic in English, a topic that will make us have good English, write well, read well. So it's a very important topic in English. Okay, so welcome to our English class and let's begin. So our main focus for today is going to be on parts of speech. So at this level, I know that we know what parts of speech are. We know the examples we've talked about. I know most of you know it. Some of you have forgotten. Some of you have a vague idea of what parts of speech are. But that's totally okay. There's no problem with that. We're going to continue from where all of us are right now. So if you know what parts of speech are, well and good. If you don't know, well and good. If you have a vague idea, even better. So we're just going to be analyzing what parts of speech are, and we will look at the types of parts of speech, what they are and what they actually do. So because I know in our past classes we've done this, we've talked about parts of speech, and this includes when I mention nouns, when I mention pronouns, when I mention verbs, when I mention such, I believe that we have an idea of what these are. Okay, when I say nouns, there's something that comes into your mind, right? You have this idea of what a noun is. When I say a verb, I think you know what a verb is, right? When I say an adverb, an adjective, a preposition, I know you have a slight idea or a vague idea of what these are, or what this is, or these are. Okay, so I know you know what we're talking about. So basically today we're going to be doing the same thing, just reminding ourselves of these parts of speech. So now before we even jump into the lesson, there's an important thing we have to know here, and that is what parts of speech are. Okay, so what are parts of speech? What are they? What do they entail? So you can try and figure this out on your own, like just remind yourself any idea or anything you think what a part of speech is. Okay, so once you do this, then you'll be able to tell if you are in the right place to are you going to be adding knowledge or learning something new, or just reminding yourself. Okay, so from this lesson you will come out with three things, or three benefits. So it's either you learn something new, two, you top up to something that you know already but you didn't know other things about it, so you're going to top up on what you know. Okay, so additional information or additional knowledge to what you already know. And three, you're going to be reminding yourself. So some of you, when I talk about parts of speech, some of you you don't even remember what this is. Okay, so for you, you're going to be learning something new. But some of you already know what parts of speech are and their types, examples, and all I'm talking about. So you're going to be maybe adding some information that you didn't know about. Yes, you know what parts of speech are, but you didn't know something, so you're going to be adding to what you know. And some of you are going to be reminding yourself. So you know what parts of speech are, you know everything about it, so you're going to be reminding yourself. So I believe at grade 9 we are set to start our topic on parts of speech and understand all we're talking about. So the first major purpose is to understand what parts of speech are. So basically parts of speech are also known as word classes. Okay, they are the fundamental categories in which words in language or in English can be classified based on their grammatical and semantic functions. So when you talk about parts of speech, they're just categories in which words are assigned to these categories depending on their characteristics or their function, to make it simpler. So you find maybe a word like mother. What is the word mother? What is its function in a sentence, or what is its characteristics? The word maybe is, the word table, the word beautiful. So you find a sentence, like we know in our past classes we've learned that sentences are made from words and words are made from letters. Okay, so you find in a sentence is made up of words. Okay, so these words have a specific category in which they are placed, or they identify with. So they have a specific category in which they are classified based on their grammatical or semantic function. Okay, so understanding these parts of speech is very, very important for analyzing and constructing sentences, and not just any sentences but meaningful sentences. So that is why we have to know about the parts of speech and what they are. So let's now look at examples of the parts of speech. So I want us to look at these types or examples of parts of speech. Okay, so we can call them examples of the parts of speech or the types of the parts of speech. So I will majorly just mention them so that we can just remind ourselves. So I will briefly mention all of them so that we can remind ourselves the ones we know and the ones that we don't know. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, then later I will come look at each, just look at each in an in-depth explanation, but not something that we've not heard about. I believe we know what parts of speech are. At grade 9, we've come across this in our past classes. So I believe that this will be a very, very simple journey for us. So the first example is a noun. So basically a noun is just a word that represents a person, a place, a thing, an idea, or a concept. So a noun in general is a naming word. Okay, class? A noun is a naming word. That's the simple term there. So all this here, a noun is a word that represents a person, a place, idea, or concept. It's just further explanation to what I'm saying. But just know a noun is a naming word. Now you ask yourself, what does it name? It names a person, it names an idea, it names a place, it names a thing. So we have examples of noun like dog, cat, city, love, friend, mother, books, tables. Everything that has a name is called a noun. So a noun is a naming word, and we know what nouns are. So that is the first example here. The second example is a pronoun. What is a pronoun? So a pronoun now is just a word that is used to replace a noun to avoid repetition. So you find that in a sentence you have a noun, and instead of using a noun, you can use pronouns to just replace these nouns and avoid repetition. I will give you a simple example. Like if I was to say, my mother, no, let me use my mother here. My mother is a teacher. My mother is beautiful. My mother is tall. My mother is loving. My mother is the best. You notice that I keep repeating my mother, my mother, my mother, and it makes my sentence repetitive and more redundant. Okay, so when I want to get rid of this repetition, what do I use? I use pronouns. So instead of using my mother all the time, I will say something like, my mother is a teacher. She loves singing. She's tall. She's beautiful, and she's loving. Look at that. So the pronouns here are used to replace these nouns. So for example, if you're talking about Mary and you're telling us Mary is a young girl, Mary is in grade 9, Mary loves mathematics, Mary loves playing basketball. Look at that. We repeat Mary and it makes the sentence boring and just repetitive. So to get rid of this, we make use of the pronouns here. So instead of saying Mary all the time, we'll say something like, Mary is a young girl. She is in grade 9. She loves singing. She loves playing basketball. And she's a great friend. Okay. So you notice that I get rid of this Mary and repeating the word Mary or the name Mary every time. So that is the purpose of pronouns. So there my pronoun is she. Okay. So you notice I use she. And when I'm using a male figure like John, I will use he. So the example here we have he, she, it, they, we, you. So those are the examples of pronouns we have. Now let's move on and look at other examples. We have verbs. So we know what verbs is, okay, or what verbs are, or what a verb is. So basically a verb is a word that expresses an action, occurrence, or a state of being. But just like the way I said nouns are naming words, there's a simple way of saying verbs too. Verbs are action words. Very simple. So verbs are doing word. So a verb is a doing word, or a verb is an action word. Look at that. So it's an action, it's an occurrence or a state of being. So instead of saying all this, we can avoid them and just use simple terms like a verb is a doing word or a verb is an action word. Simple. And we have words like run, eat, is, has. So you look at, we have also types of verbs. We have main verb, we have helping verbs, we have such verbs. So you find even is here is an example of a verb, okay, sorry. So you notice most of us we'll be like, is a verb? So you'll be asking yourself about this word is here. But just know that is an example of a helping verb. And we will continue looking at the verbs, and you will learn other verbs like has, have, been, is, are. All these are verbs. So we have these actions like run, eat, think. So you can even help me mention or name some verbs, because I know you know this is just doing words. Swim, like what action do you love doing? What do you love doing? Watching, watch. Okay, so such we call them verbs. The next category is what we call adjectives. Now with adjectives are just words that describe or modify a noun, providing more information about it. So adjectives are words that are used to give more information about a noun. So for example, you're talking about your mother. You want to describe your mother. You want to paint a beautiful picture about your mother. You will use adjectives to help you. So you'll be like, my mother is a beautiful person. My mother is maybe loving. So you find these are adjectives that describe who your mother is. My friend is strong, or my friend, or I bought a beautiful dress, I bought a short dress, I bought a blue dress. Okay, so all these are just the blue, the short, the beautiful, the strong. All these are just words that provide more information about a noun, and that is what we call adjectives. So we have examples like happy, red, tall, delicious. The food was delicious. Okay, you're describing the food, and the food is the noun there. So that is another category we call adjectives. Other categories include adverbs. So let me increase my font here so you can see. So look at that, very beautiful. So adverbs are basically what we call words that modify a verb. They not only modify a verb, but also modify adjectives and even other adverbs. So they provide more information about how, when, or where, or to what degree something is done. Okay, so we have something like quickly, very, often, and here. So for example, the verb run. So when you want to tell how fast someone ran, you will say something like she ran quickly. So you will notice that this quickly here gives more information about the verb running. So it tells you how was the action done. The action was done quickly. Okay, another one is for example, she sings often. Okay, she sings often. So the singing here, the verb singing is being modified, and we know that this person loves singing often. Okay, then the next category we have is called the preposition. Now with the preposition here, they're just words that show the relationship between a noun or a pronoun and other words in a sentence. So they just show the relationship. For example, a noun, you have a noun like maybe Mary. Mary hid under the table. You see, so it's showing the relationship between Mary here and the table. So Mary hid under the table, or the ball was the ball flew over the, or the ball was thrown over the fence, something like that. So these are prepositions. So we have prepositions of place, prepositions of time, okay, prepositions of manner. So examples we have in, on, under, and beside. So those are the examples of the prepositions we have. Another example, let's look at other parts of speech here, and we have something we call conjunctions. So with conjunctions, they're just words that connect words or phrases or clauses or within a sentence. So there's specific words that connect sentences or connect phrases in a sentence or connect words. So for example, you want to say, Velma loves singing, John loves singing. You don't want to separate these two sentences. So you say something like, Velma and John love singing. Look at that, very simple. And then another example is maybe Velma again. Velma loves basketball. John loves football. So you'd say something like, Velma loves basketball, but John loves football. So you see the contradiction between the two sentences, or the contrast between the two sentences. Okay. So notice that that's the use of the conjunctions here. They just connect the sentences. Okay. Don't forget that. Now let's continue and look at the interjections. Now with interjections, they're just words or phrases that are used to express strong emotions. For example, ouch when you're hurt, or hey, wow when you're surprised. So you notice with the interjections, there is this exclamation mark. So this exclamation mark shows that the word is an interjection. Okay, so don't forget